bring in here at the big plastic picnic table in front of the building, we got Elliot Felig. He's a former New York State prosecutor, worked in the Manhattan DA's office. Good to have you today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, what's your headline on
So
this?
he has the First Amendment right to say the election was stolen. He can say that all over the country. He can say it all over TV. He has a right to file lawsuit after lawsuit claiming that the election was stolen and try to stop the certification. However, where he got in trouble is when they assembled these electors in the various states after Joe Biden had been declared the winner by the secretaries of state or by the governors, had them sign a certification saying we are the duly elected and duly certified electors. That's where he's going to argue there was no good faith basis. That's where he's going to say the fraud took place. If I can make an analogy, right? I could come on your show. I can say I'm Elon Musk's long-lost son, and I'm entitled to inherit all of his billions and billions of dollars when he dies. I can say that all over the country, even though it's false, even though it's stupid, right? But
That's the First Amendment.
First Amendment, exactly. But if after Elon Musk passes away, I walk into probate court, hand up a document that says, hey, this is Elon Musk's will, and I know it's not his will, and it says I'm his son, and I say I get all his billions of dollars, guess what? Then I've committed fraud, then I've committed forgery, then I've maybe done an attempted grand larceny. And Jack Smith is going to make the argument that that's where they were not acting in good faith, that when they had these false certificates prepared, when they asked Mike Pence to accept those rather than the other certificates, that's where he's going to argue the fraud was committed.
So he's going to argue that Trump knew those were false certificates?
Right. He's going to argue that there was...
Because Trump, everyone you talk to says he still believes that he won the election.
Right. Well, that's a great point. So to the extent that the indictment defends on knowingly making false statements, the key there is knowingly. Yeah, Donald Trump is going to defend this by saying he truly believed at the time and still to this day absolutely believes that the election was stolen, even in the absence of evidence, even though his own attorney general and so many others said, no, this was a fair election.
So some people are saying that somebody within his camp has flipped. Maybe it's Mark Meadows, maybe it's not, because he seems to have disappeared and said, yeah, Donald Trump told me that he knew this was, he lost the election. We're just going to keep pushing the envelope. But there are so many other people that would say he absolutely did not believe that. And there's a lot of people in his personal life who, one in particular I know that appeared with him all last summer, came and said, I'm telling you, at dinner, at lunch, on stage, he kept saying, I won the 2020 election. So that, to me, you can't convict somebody on something that one friend says one and another insider says another.
No question. To this day, if you hooked him up to a lie detector test, he would probably pass on the question, do you really believe this election was unfair? Do you really believe it was stolen? That's going to be a huge part of his defense, that it was not a knowingly false statement, even if the prosecutors allege it was false.
Is there a legal, can I just ask you, is there a legal process to getting other electors in? Is that unprecedented to looking for other electors? Didn't something similar happen with Rutherford B. Hayes earlier and his opponent who eventually would become president?
Yeah, but they're going to argue that there was no good faith belief, and they're going to say, look, how would Donald Trump feel if after the 2024 election, Kamala Harris, as president of the Senate, decided, oh, I'm only going to take the electors that sided with us. So they're going to say that this was a dangerous path and a knowingly dangerous path.
Sure. And I read the indictment last night, and Ainsley's got it right there. It's very clear they do have people who told the prosecutors that I told the president, and these are people from the White House, the Department of Justice, the campaign, they all said, yeah, we told him he lost. He knew he lost. So they got the receipt, so to speak.
Well, that second part is so important, Steve. You said he knew he lost. Because you could have an attorney tell you one thing. It doesn't mean that attorney's right or that you're wrong. But when he says, I told, if this attorney's going to come forward and say, yeah, he told me, between you and I, he lost.
Right. It comes down to intent, though, ultimately.
Intent, mens rea, as we call it in the law. And yeah, his intent, whether he knowingly thought it was a false statement, that's going to be clear.
Well, this is an unfavorable judge appointed by Obama, and
chosen at random. They spin the wheel.
Right. But you know that he's going to appeal this. It'll go to the Court of Appeals. If it makes it out of the Court of Appeals, it'll go to the Supreme Court.
If convicted.
If convicted, exactly. This is what his new attorney, who's been with him the last 2 weeks, John Luro, was on Fox last night. Here's what he had to say.
It's a terribly tragic day that we find ourselves in, where political speech now has been criminalized, where an existing Justice Department, Merrick Garland, has a boss. His name is Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's running against Donald Trump and losing currently. And now we have that Justice Department indicting President Trump for actions that he took as the chief executive of the United States with respect to public policy matters. So now we have the criminalization and the weaponization of public policy and political speech by one political party over another. And it's not surprising when it comes. It comes on the heels of unbelievable allegations against Mr. Biden and his son, as well as the fact that Donald Trump is leading in the polls right now.
Elliot, what he just said at the end, the two systems of justice, two-tier justice system, is that more than rhetoric for a guy that makes his living in the law?
It's a great argument to make in the political arena, and our mutual friend Trey Gowdy made the argument that maybe because it's going to get pushed back, the real election is going to, the real trial is going to be the election. Sure. The real jurors are going to be the voters.
Even if this election happens before the election? Even if the trial happens before the election?
I think the trial is going to be pushed back until after the election. Jack Smith is going to make every effort to have it tried quickly. I don't think it's going to end up on a fast track.
One of these will, right? Look at the campaign calendar, not the campaign calendar, it's mixed in with the campaign. Look at the trial calendar. Tomorrow he's in court. October is the Trump Organization civil suit. January is the E. Jean Carroll civil suit, the Pyramid class action suit. In March, you have New York State criminal hush money suit. In May, the classified Mar-a-Lago suit.
Right, but lawyers...
He's going to be in court in some form or fashion.
But if he wins... Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate. And he's also running for president of the United States. If he wins the presidency, as soon as he becomes president, he could have the DOJ just throw all that stuff out. But he cannot pardon himself in the state of Georgia if they were to go ahead with the case.
Nor can the governor do it in Georgia. In Georgia, pardons have to go through the Board of Pardons, Board of Paroles.
So even though he faces a lot of federal charges, criminal charges, it could be ultimately, if he's convicted, he's got Georgia on his mind.
And Georgia could happen this week. I doubt it will. It could happen today.
Oh, that indictment is definitely in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's just hard to have you ever seen a client with more legal challenges than Donald Trump has right now?
Never seen it, but it's a good faith basis to ask for a delay. Lawyers walk into courtrooms in this country every day and say, Judge, I got to prepare for this other case, so you got to give me a long date.
What happens if he does win and then all these cases come up? And what happens? Can you try? You can't try a sitting president, can you?
Yeah, but look, I read the pardon clause of the Constitution. I don't see any limitation in it.
Yeah.
Would you say you don't see any limitation on?
I see no limitation on a president's ability to pardon someone, including himself, at least as I read the text of the Constitution.
And ultimately, what the president has been doing, the former president, since the indictment was handed up by the grand jury, is he's now fundraising on it, and he needs the money because he's got big legal bills.
They're a great fundraising tool to get an indictment, apparently.
Kidding. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.